How are you going to know if you've never been in the room making records with people that aren't just good enough? In this video, I'm going to talk about and ask the question, if you've never made a great record, how can you say that it doesn't matter? If you've never been part of a big production with top-notch talent involved, from the artist to the producer, the engineer, the mixer, mastering engineer, the record label person, the manager, the A&R person, the publicist. If you've never been involved in something that big with that many experts or specialists, how can you say that it doesn't matter? That really shouldn't matter. That what you're doing is good enough to do it all yourself, be the artist, the engineer, the mixer, the producer, the mastering engineer, etc. Upload it to Spotify via DistroKid or CD Baby or whatever, and that your music should be considered to be on par with the likes of Taylor Swift, Lady Gaga, The Weeknd, Kendrick Lamar, any of these characters, you know, any of these major stars. How do you have the audacity to think that your stuff stacks up, or that it doesn't matter that it doesn't stack up, that people should still like it anyway? Is it because of bedroom pop and because the access to technology is so easy at this point? I mean, everybody obviously can have a studio. I know guys that have never made a full record that have more gear than I do. That's a fact. I know guys that have never made a record, never made a successful beat, and they have more gear than Kanye West does. I'm here to tell you there's a massive difference. This is not a yelling at the clouds kind of thing or get off my lawn kind of thing. There is a huge, massive difference between amateur artists and pro artists. Of course, you know, there's the occasional unicorn that surprisingly does break through eventually, usually, unless they do something else that holds them back, like, you know, drug problem, mental health, all these other kinds of things that can get in the way, you know, laziness. Big difference between amateur and pro engineers. There's a big difference between the owner-operator engineer and a pro engineer. Just is. I mean, I've been in every room possible. I've been in rooms with pro engineers. I've been in rooms that are owned by guys that built studios, and that's how they got a job. They're not as good as the pro engineer that's been out there on the street working for labels, working for producers, working for artists. They're just not. Again, the caveat can be, you know, the unicorn here and there. Maybe. Producers. There's some under the radar producers out there that are very talented. There is no unknown Phil Ramone. There's no unknown Mutt Lange. Those guys get known for a reason. They're different. They're just better. I'm not trying to be like mean to anybody or like come at anybody and say, you know, you shouldn't be doing this. I'm just wondering why there aren't records with depth that there were. And I'm not even talking about the records like, you know, that I was personally involved with. But I've been personally involved in records with finesse. Even if the budget wasn't even that hot, the finesse was there. There was some extra edge. There were experts, specialists involved. I've used that word before in another video, the specialist. You know, the amount of time that someone takes to develop production skills can't be diluted at the same time by learning technical skills, learning software and learning hardware, mic pre's and mic choices and compressors and EQs. Like, unless you never sleep and you can, be the unicorn. What's the answer? I have no idea. I really don't. I don't think there is a good answer. I think that one of the major things lacking is collaboration and working with teams and working with other people in the room who are great at what they do while you can be great at what you do. Because the chances of you being like a tremendous artist, a tremendous musician, a tremendous engineer, mixer, and mastering engineer, I mean, are slim to none, the chances of that. If you're in the game 30 years, you might be able to get pretty damn good at everything like that. But if you're an artist, I mean, you don't have 30 years to like crack that code. It's a really sticky, ugly spot. I don't know what the answer is. I know that there is no music community for a lot of young kids. Like, I hear about stories. I heard from another YouTuber today who was like, said his 17-year-old son goes to a high school, plays guitar. There's 250 people in the school and there's no bands. That doesn't bode well for like up and coming musicians and, future bands. You could throw a quarter out the window in New York City back in the day and, hit 10 musicians that all knew each other. That were all jamming with each other. There was a music building on 30th and 8th Avenue where bands were just there around the clock, rehearsing, living there practically. Madonna, several others. I listened to a couple of records over the past couple of days, taking a walk. It just always gnaws at me that like these records were at such a high level compared to what I'm hearing now. Is it because the attention span is not there? Like, I work with young artists, new indie artists and so that they can't fathom being in the studio for 16-hour days, 6 days a week. They can't comprehend it. They don't have the attention span. They don't have the focus, I guess. It goes along with attention span. They haven't built the stamina. You got to build that muscle. You just start doing 15-hour sessions from day one in your journey. You build up to that, to the point where you don't even notice that 15 hours has gone by. 18 hours has gone by. I mean, especially when you're a young person. I see a good enough mentality a lot. Instead of like, you know what? I'm not a great keyboard player. I gotta get somebody in here that plays keyboards great. Because just like good enough is just, in the end, is not good enough. But how are you going to know if you've never been in the room making records with people that aren't just good enough? How are you going to know? You're not going to know. You can't relate to it. I did a live stream last week or this week while I was going over a production / mix, fine-tuning tracks and sifting through tracks and sorting things out and everything. And I could kind of tell, even from the chat reaction on a very small audience, none of these guys have seen this on that level. I'm not a bad guy for saying it's a different level, but it's a different level. I mean, you could take it as a bad guy thing. The good enough mentality is a bad thing. The other thing is that there's no checks and balances on an artist now or on a production. So in other words, there is no producer looking over the shoulder of the artist saying like, I don't know about that. There's no engineer holding down his end or their end of the deal, making sure that the sound quality was there. Then the producer looking over the shoulder of the engineer going like, I'm not sure about, you know, that sound, that blend. There's no manager, artist manager popping in saying like, what's going on? Why does this thing not sound great yet? There's no record label people saying that mix is not ready yet, or that vocal is not ready yet, or those drums aren't knocking. It's just usually one person, the artist, producer, mixer, engineer, the person in the, you know, on their laptop, the lone wolf. You know, maybe there's like that producer guy is working with just like a vocalist here and there. They're the only ones checking each other. You know, there's not too many Dave Stewart, Annie Lennoxes out there. There hasn't been. And that goes back to like 1980. I mean, is it troubling? I'm doing this video because like, just one of those on my mind kind of things. Like, why aren't the records better? Especially when, you know, that people talk about there's no budgets. Yeah, but you have access to everything for so cheap. It's like 50 times, it's 1,000 times the power that anyone had 30 years ago. You know, I'm pretty sure for like $1,000 you have more juice under the hood of a laptop with an Apollo or something like that, Focusrite or whatever. You have everything. Everything. More than Alanis Morissette had when she was making her first record, which was costing more per day than you need to spend on all your studio. I know there's no budget. Yeah, but like, you can do these things for like a lot less money now. The knowledge is out there. As far as the information, you can get information that like we couldn't have dreamed of in mid-90s, let's just say. Couldn't have dreamed it up. Even when the internet first really got rolling in the early 2000s, there wasn't a lot of the stuff that there is. I mean, there's nothing like there is now. Now it's, you know, you can get any info you want right away. I don't know if that works for you if you have zero, or, you know, you're lacking experience, or your only experience is in your own echo chamber, and or going to things like YouTube and listening to guys who have never made great records. I mean, I don't even know why you would, if you were interested in making great records, why would you get yourself caught up in listening to someone who's never made one? I saw some guy today reacting to stems of a Britney Spears song. I thought like, well, maybe he's going to go over all the tracks and talk about, there's something about like, you know, how did Britney Spears make this great record, Toxic or whatever. All the dude did was play the fucking tracks back, soloing them one by one, geeking out about like, oh wow, listen to that. Oh wow, listen to that. Oh, there's 25,000 views, like 500 comments. What the hell is going on when that kind of thing is happening? It's a one-way ticket to Crazy Town. The whole thing. I got some other videos coming up pretty soon that I think might be a little bit interesting. This is one of my Tony Talks Shit videos. Just my thoughts. I think there's a lack of belief. There's a lack of focus. I'm just questioning, like, yeah, why is it? I mean, NAMM just happened and thousands of new products come out. All these things are, one thing's more amazing than the next. One bit of software, plug-in, hardware thing, keyboard, drum machine. And all I hear is the same thing over and over again. So what's happening with that? I just got off the phone. A friend of mine, I was saying, I turned this artist on to Everything But the Girl. You know, their massive record was like in 1994, 30 years ago. And he was like, yeah, wow, that's old. You know, it's some old stuff. I'm like, yeah, but you know what? It sounds like it came out today or better than that. It sounds, You would think that was a modern record compared to what I hear now. And they were using the same drums that everyone's using right now. 909 kick and snare and hat. Sine wave keyboards. You know, they were clearly using good Neumann microphones and Neve mic pre's and probably an LA2A or something like that, 1176 on the vocal. So you can't crap on something from 94 when it was done at a higher level than things are being done at now. And there's no denying it. I don't even have an axe to grind with that, like, let's just say with that particular artist. You know, it's not like I'm patting myself on the back. I had nothing to do with it. I wish I did. It was that good. I wish I would hear somebody maybe once in a while play a song for me or send me a track that I go, wow, like, this is the next big thing. This is the next thing or the next level or someone taking it somewhere. I'd be happy if they were taking me back to 1994 at this point and let me hear something that like knocked my socks off, like a 1994 record or like a Billy Idol Eyes Without a Face. I heard that today. And I know that was a Lindrum and a Rockman, probably a U87 on the vocal with a little Neve mic pre and a LA3A or 2A. And it blows the doors off of things that are coming out now, 40 years later. Yeah, that record's 42 years old. Lindrum, you know, people are still going bonkers over Lindrums. They're still on records that you're hearing now, but like everything is done at a hack level. Where are the checks and balances? Where are I watched this thing. Bob Lefsetz was on the Toes channel. I know it's Rick Beato. He made some valid points. Like, you don't deserve Spotify royalties if you don't get plays. You get 4 plays. What do you want? 40 cents? You want $4? You get 10,000 plays. What do you think you deserve? $100? I can't see that makes much sense. It's not on the map. It's brutal.